At number 30 on this list, we have Marquise Chris of the Golden State Warriors. This guy can give you 10 points and 10 rebounds a game. He is a transcending talent. He is 6'9" at the age of 23 years of age. I could have put him higher on this list easily. This guy, in the future, give him 1 to 2 years, he'll be dropping 15 points, 10 rebounds, and a block a game, as well as he can stretch the floor and hits the shots from anywhere on the court. He's a good talent, 6'9", a good solid power forward centerpiece for any single team. I reckon he would fit the best on the Houston Rockets. He's a bit like Robert Covington, so I think he could fit perfectly on the Rockets if he had a chance. At number 29 on this list, we have Byron Forbes of the San Antonio Spurs. This guy can give you at least 10 to 15 points a night. He's a great piece coming off the bench. He's 26 years of age. He shoots 40% from the three-point land. He also shoots 45% from the field. He also can drop 2 to 3 threes per game, which every team needs. They need a player that can stretch the floor. A great 6th or 7th man for a lot of teams. Byron Forbes, in a couple of years, he may be dropping 15 points at maximum, but he is very underrated for the Spurs, and he can help them next year make the leap and go back to the playoffs where they belong. At number 28, we have Grayson Allen of the Memphis Grizzlies. He can drop at least 10 points per night on limited minutes, as well as shoot 40% from the three. As I said, you need a player who can stretch the floor, and this guy can be a perfect 6th man on a playoff caliber team. The Grizzlies are a playoff caliber team, and he can make them go to the number 8 seed next season if he can transcend his game just a little bit more, and the Grizzlies could really use him. They can use him more if they give him a couple more minutes per game. Shooting 40% from 3, averaging like 2 to 3 threes per game can help them. If he gets that 1 more 3 per game and can average at least 15 points, his 2nd season in the NBA, he's a bit of a hothead. Use it to the Memphis Grizzlies' advantage. When he comes off the bench, it gives you that energy. He's like an Alex Caruso, an Energizer Bunny that every team could use, and this kid is very underrated. At number 27, we have Frank Jackson of the New Orleans Pelicans. This guy doesn't get enough minutes, in my opinion. He's averaging 13 minutes per game. If they give him 15 to 18 minutes per game, he could raise his points from 6 points per game to a massive 10 points per game. As well, he has pretty good passing IQ, which he could average at least 5 assists. If he can average 10 points, 5 assists, he could take over Josh Hart's position, which Josh Hart does the exact same things as him, but he shoots a little bit higher 3-point percentage than Josh Hart. So this kid is very underrated. He's only 22 years of age. It's his 2nd season in the NBA, and he can be a transcending talent in a few years. Give him about 2 to 3 years, and he should be averaging 15, 20 points per game with 5 assists per game. As well, the Pelicans should use him to his advantage. If he can be better than Josh Hart, make him the 6th man and see how he goes. At number 26 from the Utah Jazz, we have Emmanuel Mudiay. Last year on the New York Knicks, he was averaging 15 points per game. Since they cut his minutes in half, he's only averaging half of what he did last season. But he's still averaging at least 3 assists, 3 rebounds per game, and can shoot 35% from downtown. He's only 24 years. He's been in the NBA for 6 seasons so far. But since they cut his minutes, he can't be as effective. In his first season, he was averaging 30 minutes per game with 13 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He averages 35% from the 3-point land. If they give him some more minutes, this guy can be the starting point guard for the Utah Jazz and help them overcome what they missed out against the Denver Nuggets and be able to get over that 3-1 hump when they are up for next season's playoff. At number 25, we have Landry Shamet of the Los Angeles Clippers. As you guys can see from the bubble, he was the starting point guard when Patrick Beverley went down. The reason why he was the starting point guard over Reggie Jackson, because this guy can average 50% from the 3-point range. He can average 10 points per game. He can play great defense. He's a bit of a dog on the defensive end. He's a little bit of an energizer bunny, just like Patrick Beverley. I would actually say that he's better than Patrick Beverley all round. Patrick Beverley has better defense, but this kid actually has better offense than Patrick Beverley. He shoots better. He averages better points. He could do a lot more than Pat Bev, and I believe that he should be the starting point guard if Reggie Jackson is not there, but he is highly slept on this Los Angeles Clippers team, which is pretty stacked. At number 24, we have Drew Holiday's younger brother, Aaron Holiday. This guy could become like Drew Holiday in the future. He's 23 years of age. He averages 10 points per game, 3 assists, 2 rebounds per game. He can shoot 40% from the 3-point range. He has a high free throw percentage at 85% from the free throw range. He averages 25 minutes. He could be a solid starter for the Indiana Pacers. I believe he could be the starting point guard. He has a lot of upside, a lot like his brother Drew Holiday. At number 23, we have Jarrett Culver of the Minnesota Timberwolves. This guy is a shooting guard off the bench, 6'6" at the age of 21. 6'6" is a perfect height for a shooting guard who averages 10 points per game. He shoots only 30% from the three-point range, but that will average higher more and more seasons that he plays with more minutes. He averages 20 minutes per game. He can get you 10 points. He can get you 5 to 7 rebounds per game, which is a very good shooting guard off the bench. 6'6", you can play him at the small forward position as well. He has pretty good passing IQ, and his defense is pretty solid as well, nearly averaging a steal and a block per game. In his future, he could be one of the elite shooting guards in the NBA if he keeps playing the way he plays. So we'll see how he goes in the future. At number 22, we have Wendell Carter Jr. of the Chicago Bulls. At 6'9", this guy is a perfect. He plays the center position, but I believe he should be a starting power forward on the Chicago Bulls. He averages 30 minutes. He gives you 11 points and 10 rebounds per game. Nearly gives you a steal and a block, so he's a great transcending defensive player. He could become like a budget version of Giannis, a very budget version of Giannis. He averages 20% from the three-point range as well, which is very decent for a power forward slash center in this NBA. He can also give you a couple of assists a game with a very good passing IQ. But this kid can give you 10 points, 10 rebounds on every single night. At number 21, we have Shake Milton of the Philadelphia 76ers. This guy was a starter for the 76ers in the bubble when they got swept against the Miami Heat. He's a very solid player that can give you 10 points with 3 assists, 2 rebounds per game. He can shoot 40 to 50% from the three-point range, as well as shoot 50% from the field and 80% from the free throw range. He can obviously play some pretty good defense, but I do see him as a shooting guard type of player. He's a second-round pick. He's only 23 years of age. At 6'5", he can become a very good player in his future. Next year, see him average 15 to 16 points per game. At number 20 on this list, we have Talen Horton-Tucker of the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, the reason I have him this high up on the list at number 20 is because this kid only gets like 5 minutes per game. As you've seen, he played 1 or 2 games against the Houston Rockets. Now, this kid is a very good talent. I see him being a very good talent in the future. He's only 19 years of age. Remember that. Averaging 6 points per game off 10 minutes per game. At number 19, we have Jonathan Isaac. Every single year in the NBA, he is improving. And on the Orlando Magic, he's a very, very solid piece. A very solid starting center for the Orlando Magic. I don't see many people talking about him when he can average 15 points, 10 rebounds per game, and also give you 2 blocks and 2 steals per game at the exact same time with only giving you 1 turnover. 34% from the three-point range. He's actually really good for a 6'11 player at the center position. He's only 22 years of age with a very high 17.3 plus minus. In the next few years, he's going to average like 20 points, 10 rebounds. At number 18, we have Darius Garland of the Cleveland Cavaliers. The 6'1" rookie was number 5 pick overall in last year's draft. He already averages 12 points per game, 1 steal, 4 assists. He is a 90% free throw shooter, as well as a 35% three-point shooter as well. So he's a very, very solid piece. He's the starting point guard for that team, but I still believe he's very underrated, and not many people are talking about how good of a talent he can be in a few years. At number 17, we have Mikal Bridges from the Phoenix Suns. This guy is a very, very good talent. He's very athletic at the small forward position at 6'9", averaging 9 points per game, as well as a steal per game, 2 assists and 4 rebounds. He can average 36% from the three-point range, 90% free throw shooter. At number 16, we have Thomas Bryant from the Washington Wizards. This guy has been improving every single season that he has been in the NBA. This is his 3rd season. He has a 21 PER, which is very, very good for this type of player. He averages 13 points per game with 7 rebounds per game as well. He averages 40% shooting from the three-point range at 6'10", 250 pounds, 23 years of age. This kid can be a very, very solid starting center for every single NBA team. Also, he could be a backup center if he really wants to. He could stretch the next year. He's going to be averaging 15 and 10. I see that happening. At number 15, we have Miles Bridges of the Charlotte Hornets. This guy is uber athletic and also could shoot the 3 very well, as well as play very good defense. He's a very good talent. 13 points per game with 6 rebounds as well. He's a solid 6th man for any single team. For a playoff team, I can see him being a solid 6th, 7th, or 8th man off the bench. I feel like he could become a backup small forward because he's very athletic. He could shoot the ball. He could play very good defense. And he's 6'6", so he could play multiple positions. He can play the shooting guard, small forward position simultaneously. And I do think he's very underrated on the Charlotte Hornets. At number 14, we have Mitchell Robertson of the New York Knicks. This guy is very underrated. He is 7 feet tall. He is a very good talent. He can average 10 points, 10 rebounds off the bench with 2 blocks a game. You can't ask for much more. I don't see why he's the backup center for the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks don't have that much talent. And this guy has a lot of talent for the New York Knicks. I see him leaving the New York Knicks. He's very underrated, very underappreciated on this team. He could be a very solid backup center for any single team, especially a playoff contending team. So see him change up teams in the future if they do not give him that starting role, because he is very, very talented and very underrated. At number 13, we have Daniel Tice of the Boston Celtics. This guy is a starting center, and they are in the Eastern Conference Finals at the moment. He's doing a very solid job on Bam Adebayo. He can average 10 points and 10 rebounds. He's his second season from Germany. He is 28 years of age. So 10 points, 10 rebounds. He has 1 block per game, so he's a very solid defender. As I said, he's been defending Bam Adebayo to his best. Bam Adebayo is a better talent, but he's very underrated for this Boston Celtics team. At number 12, we have Luke Kennard. He's a very solid player, 16 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists off the bench. He can sometimes be a starter, 44% from the field, 40% from the 3-point range. He also has some pretty solid defense. He's more of a spot-up shooting type of guy, and I'd like to see him onto the Los Angeles Lakers, for instance. He could be a very solid piece for them off the bench. He's like a KCP, just with as good a defense, and he can shoot the ball just as good or if better than him, and I do feel like he's very underrated and underappreciated. At number 11, we have Dante DiVincenzo from the Milwaukee Bucks. As you've seen from the bubble, when he was playing against the Miami Heat, he was probably the only shining light from that Milwaukee Bucks series. I did feel like he's a very solid piece for them, a very solid backup point guard for any single team, and that's why he's very underrated for the Milwaukee Bucks. At number 10, we have Lou Dort. As you guys seen from the Houston Rockets series when they lost in 7, he was clamping up James Harden. He could shoot the 3 pretty well now after that series. Before that series, he couldn't shoot the ball at all. Now he's starting to shoot the 3 very well, and I do believe he could be a very solid player for any single NBA team, because he's a 3-and-D type of guy now. He's not just a pure lockdown anymore. He's like an Andre Robertson, just with a 3-point shot, and I do see him being very, very solid for the OKC in the future. At number 9, we have Kendrick Nunn from the Miami Heat. This guy was a first-team all-rookie player. He could shoot the 3-point he could shoot the lights out from the 3-point range. He's very underrated for this reason, because they didn't play him at all in the Eastern Conference Finals when they could use him. If they don't play him, if they make the NBA Finals against the Los Angeles Lakers, the Lakers will beat them in 5. If he does play, they could obviously sneak in 2 games against the Lakers at max. But this kid is a very transcending talent, very good player. He can shoot the ball lights out from anywhere on the court. He can play defense pretty well as well, and he's a very good point guard. I see him being a starting point guard for the Miami Heat in the future over Tyler Hero, because I do believe that he is better than Tyler Hero. At number 8, we have Buddy Hield. You already know this guy is a very, very good 3-point shooter. He's one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA at the moment. He's a very solid shooting guard, and on the Kings, I feel like he's very underrated and very underappreciated. I do think that he should go to a different team, because he can be a shining light on a different team. He could be a backup shooting guard, or even a starting shooting guard for most teams. And every NBA team needs a lights-out shooter that can average 15, 20 points per game for you. And that's why I think he's very underrated and very slept on the Sacramento Kings. At number 7, we have John Collins of the Atlanta Hawks. You know this guy is a very uber athletic player. He could dunk on anyone on the floor. And I do see him being like a Josh Smith type of player. You remember him from the Atlanta Hawks and from the Houston Rockets, Jay Smooth. Very good player. He can give you 15 points on a nightly basis, as well as give you 10 rebounds. He can average, I reckon in the NBA, and in his future, he can average 20 and 10. He's that type of player, that type of special talent. And I do think he's very underrated, underappreciated on this Atlanta Hawks, since Trae Young does take a lot of the shining light. But I do think he is the second best player on that team. That's why I think he's very underrated. At number 6, we have Trey Burke of the Dallas Mavericks. If you've seen him against the Los Angeles Clippers in the first round, he was dropping 15, 20 points a game. He was averaging 10 points off the bench. This guy can shoot the lights out from the 3. He can drive like the best of them. He has pretty good defense, and I do think that he's very underrated. He can drop 20 points a night on any team off the bench. So he's one of the best bench players in the NBA at the moment, and that's why I think he's very underrated for this Dallas Mavericks team when all they talk about Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, for many reasons why they do that, but he's very underrated for that team, and I believe he could be a very big piece for them next season. At number 5, we have Gary Trent Jr. of Portland Trail Blazers. If you've seen him against the Lakers in the first round in all of the bubbles, he was a very good 3-point shooter. Like, he could drop a 3-pointer from anywhere on the court, as his dad used to be able to. This kid is very good and a very good talent. See him becoming one of the best bench players in the NBA in the future. I do believe this guy is a very, very special talent. And on the Portland Trail Blazers, he can help them become the team that they're supposed to be with Damian Lillard, and he could be a very, very good third option behind CJ and Damian Lillard on that Portland Trail Blazers team. At number 4, we have Danuel House of the Houston Rockets. As you've seen, as soon as he left the bubble after that cheating scandal, the Houston Rockets struggled against the Los Angeles Lakers. This kid is a very special talent, especially for the money he is earning. He is on a very low salary. He could shoot the 3-ball like the best of them. He has very good defense. He's a very special talent. Next season, I'm taking it to the next level, becoming a starter for the Houston Rockets and becoming a very solid piece for that team. The Rockets better not let go of this player, because he's very special and a very talented player. At number 3, are Monte Morris of the Denver Nuggets. As you see from this series against the Lakers and against the Jazz and Clippers, this guy is a very solid piece for this Nuggets team. Since Jeremy Grant actually took another level, I can't say he's underrated anymore. Monte Morris on this Nuggets team, on this very deep roster, I see him in a few years. They can actually win the NBA championship in a couple of years. It's not their season this year, but on Monte Morris transcending his talent even further, I see him becoming a very good solid 6th man on this Denver Nuggets team, and see him take the next level. He can average like 15-20 points per game on any other team, but he's going to be averaging 15 points off the bench. He can shoot the 3 like the best of them, and he's a very good driving player as well. Has pretty good defense as well, and see him becoming the next big thing for the Denver Nuggets. And number 2, we have Norman Powell off the Toronto Raptors. If you've seen him in that semifinals against the Boston Celtics, he had a couple of major games for them. And for this player, next season, see him becoming the starting point guard if Kyle Lowry leaves, because this kid is very, very special, very underrated, and very underappreciated. He can shoot the 3, he can drive, he can defend. He's a very transcending talent, and see him becoming the next big thing for this Toronto Raptors team. He could become a very solid player. He could average 20 points per game with 5 assists and 5 rebounds and a steal per game, because he's a very solid player all around. At number 1, we have Karis LeVert of the Brooklyn Nets. If you've seen him in the bubble, especially against that Trailblazers team when he dropped 50 and nearly won them that game when he didn't even have to do that, this kid is a very, very special player. He's the most underrated player in the NBA right now. He, on the Brooklyn Nets, he can take them to the NBA Finals, maybe win a ring with them. He's a piece that the Brooklyn Nets need, especially with Kevin Durant maybe not coming back full strength and Kyrie Irving not coming back full strength. This kid can carry the load and carry the bench when he can give Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving a lot of rest, and this kid is very, very special. Can shoot the 3, can drive, can defend. He's an all-round demigod, and see him becoming the next big thing for the Brooklyn Nets, especially the 6th man. But that is today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Leave that like, share, subscribe. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.